Fellow teachers of Reddit, what experiences have you had with dumb parents? My wife is a teacher. One time she had a parent blame her for giving the student autism. My wife isn't autistic. The student was evaluated and diagnosed by a third party. Mom refused to believe this. Oh crap, caught the autism again. Better stay inside for 3 to 5 days and drink plenty of liquid. The stupidity of some individuals never ceases to amaze me. I substituted in RHS for 5 months to finish off the year for a teacher who was on maternity leave. So I had a student, HS senior, who never did any homework, accounted for 35% of the total grade. I would constantly send emails to the parents, who always responded that they'd deal with it, spoke with the parents at conferences, and kept the admin in the loop. 1 week before finals, I sent the notice home that she needed to get a 97% on the final to pass the class and get the credits she needed for graduation, and I even gave her one more chance to turn in past homework for 50% credit. FF to the final, she barely gets a passing grade and therefore can't get the credits, can't graduate, can't enlist in the Air Force like she had intended. The parents come into the office of the school screaming at everyone that they had no clue it would come to this. When we all sat down in an office with the guidance counselor, principal, department head and myself, I reviewed the several notices with them, explained that she had multiple opportunities to gain credit, etc., but refused to do anything. Turns out the wife was hiding the emails and information from her husband and wanted her daughter to fail so she wouldn't join the Air Force and move away from home. Last I heard from the situation, they're not together. The daughter is working at Lowe's, never finished HS, and has 2 kids and multiple arrests for selling drugs. There's a reason I didn't want to pursue teaching as a career after that. Well, the mother got her wish. Daughter was manipulated into staying near home. The lack of a decent relationship between these two will cause the daughter to manipulate her own children to the same effect. The cycle continues. I had one parent come to school, drop off her child, and physically assault an elementary schooler she believed was bullying her child before I could stop it. That was scarring for everybody involved. We had a parent instigate an investigation into bullying, formal complaint, restorative meetings, etc., because her son was on the playground after school, and when one of the older children wanted to get past him he said, "Excuse me, little one." She said that by not using his name, the older child didn't know it. He was bullying her son. That's actually precious. It's an insanely sensible way to get past someone, especially being a kid. I taught English in Colombia for a summer and had some pretty interesting interactions. One particular set of parents insisted that their son was a brilliant genius who didn't need to study. He rarely came to class and therefore could barely speak any English, while the rest of his classmates could speak full, basic sentences. I emailed his parents my concerns for his apparent lack of motivation, and they told me that he could speak perfect English and didn't need to come to class, so they let him skip. Finally, parent-instructor conferences time came and I asked them to bring their son. I asked him in English, "How is English class coming along?" He stared blankly and just started crying. "Told you so." Just before Christmas break, I had the students hand in a paper. One of the students was missing a page, so I pulled out a contact sheet that I had the students fill out at the beginning of the year, and gave a call. The student's father picked up the line, said, "Thanks for calling. We will definitely get that extra page into you." The next day, the student's mother comes storming into the classroom. She happens to be an education assistant at the school. She demands to know where I got that number. I said that her son had put it on the contact sheet. Apparently the parents are separated. She proceeded to tell me that I had no right to call that number, and that when there is a problem with their son, only she has the right to know. I told her, "Thanks, that's good to know." That's when she dropped this bombshell. "If he hands something and that is incomplete, you fail him. You got that? Fail." Then she walked out of the classroom. This coming from a person who is supposed to help children succeed. I wouldn't call them dumb parents, but parents who are in denial about who their child actually is break my heart. For instance, we had a student who had an abundance of markers for autism and was in 6th grade. All the teachers on the student's team agreed they ought to tell the parents their concerns and suggest the student be tested so we could offer more resources for the student. The teacher who spoke with them was very polite, very kind in suggesting they try and figure out how best to help the student, and the mom literally screamed at her that nothing was wrong with her child and that she would never get the student tested. Her husband even tried to tell her that it wasn't a bad thing and that they should try and see if it would help since his teachers who knew him thought it might. The mom started cussing out the teacher and stormed out. Denial, the not so silent killer. I teach in a college, so the students are almost always 18 or over. A couple years ago, one student's mother called the chair of my department to complain on behalf of her daughter about the difficulty of some work listed on my syllabus. My chair was baffled, asked the mother if her daughter was over 18. The mother replied that her daughter was 20 years old. My chair explained that it was then her daughter's responsibility to either speak with me directly or withdraw from the course. That's it. That's all. It's college. People only go if they want to. No one's mother can do anything about the workload. Seriously, I'm glad that's the policy in college so then kids who had helicopter parents can learn to grow without the helicopter influence. I had a student who I caught plagiarizing in an essay. The zero was going to cause the student to not graduate on time. The parent called a meeting, but I had proof of the action thanks to Turnitin.com. I explained the assignment, and I showed the parent my proof. And that is when she said, "But I wrote that part of the essay, not my daughter, so she didn't cheat, I did." I have a love-hate relationship with Turnitin.com. I like the concept of it, but if you have a balls-long essay with 100 quotes, say you're doing a book report, Elmo takes a bath and you have to practically rewrite the book in quotes, it makes you look really bad. That doesn't mean that I'm not using it when I become a teacher. 4-day weekend. Come back on Monday to 50 emails. Generally we have 10-15 in my group. My voicemail has 10 messages. I had not gotten a voicemail once in my entire time at my school. Parent flipping out that their student is failing. How stupid I was for not allowing their student to do the work. How ridiculous I was that I could not give her student another chance. Last email and voicemail is husband apologizing because I am not the teacher of this student. Got confused with last name I guess. Turned out okay for you I guess lol. Taught college, so my story is nice. Had a student failing horrible, 10%, but would not drop. Whatever, not my dime, not my problem. Anyway, grades come in and, I guess, his mother has his password to his account. Or perhaps he just told her his grade, F, obviously, and I get an angry email insisting that there's no way he could have failed pre-calculus, because my god. His father is an engineer and the student wants to be an engineer and he just has to be good at math. The best part is, when you turn 18 and go to college you're treated as an adult, even if you don't act like one, and there's a little box you can check that says allow my parents to see my records. Most kids don't check it, and by law I am not allowed to release any records to anyone, even parents. So I politely informed her that her son is considered an adult and I was not allowed to release any records and that she would have to contact him. Of course this prompted a long "I'm going to get you fired" email that I forwarded to my dean who came to my office for a long laugh. I actually feel pretty bad for the kid. Having a helicopter mom like that at that age will do him no favors. When I was a student teacher, we were preparing for parent-teacher interviews. My cooperating teacher and the VPs had to have a discussion with me in regards to meeting with one particular parent. Basically, let my cooperating teacher do all the talking. Usually I'd be expected to take the lead as I had been planning and teaching the course at this point for a while. Because if we say the wrong thing it's entirely possible that the kid will be showing up to school with bruises the next day. Apparently the administration had already been involved with this individual and police multiple times before. In the end everything turned out okay, as far as I know. I believe the student went on to graduate, middle school, that year. Still something that sticks with me as a reminder that the profession isn't just lessons and grading. There's some real crap that goes down occasionally. Parent thought all the F's the student was receiving stood for fantastico. My teacher friend almost lost it in their face during parent-teacher conference. Reminds me of this story. My neighbor went to the Catholic school where students in primary grades received grades of O, outstanding, S, satisfactory, and U, unsatisfactory. She got a bunch of us on her assignments and her mother was very angry with her, and my neighbor told her mom, "But mom, You means you did good. The dumbest parents I have experience with are really the ones I had no experience with. I generally have about 150 students any given quarter, and parent-teacher conferences twice a year. I never get more than 6 parents. This past quarter was my worst ever. One parent showed up. What bothers me even more is that I teach middle school, an age group that really doesn't want to be in school, in an inner city district, adding even more to students' drive. A complete lack of interest in your kid's education is the dumbest thing I can think of. I've had a parent tell me that her child will be late to class every day because the street lights aren't on when she comes to school. The street lights aren't on because the sun is up. Enablers. Worthless enablers. What the? Not me, but from a co-worker of mine. She informed a parent that her 3rd grader was struggling with multiplication and division. She suggested that the parent work with the child on these skills. The parent refused because she never learned how to multiply or divide. Therefore it had no practical use and so she didn't see the big deal. Sigh. That deserves more than a sigh. I had a 5th grader blow up on me, shouting and screaming in the hallway. This was sort of the final straw for him. He had a long history of verbal abuse of staff in the school, and he was suspended for 6 days. State law allows the parents to have an informal meeting with the teacher and the principal of the school. Mom and dad come into this meeting with myself, the principal and the guidance counselor. Principal introduces everyone. Mom interrupts saying she has a major concern that needs to be addressed immediately. She accused the principal of being an imposter and demanded that everyone in the room take out their driver's licenses to prove that we are who we say we are. We all refused and she battled about this for 10 or so minutes. Over the course of the next 45 minutes she ranted about how the principal was an imposter, and that this imposter principal, myself and the superintendent were involved in a conspiracy to remove her son from the school. I think I could expose this to our cringe. I knew it. You're all working together. Teachers everywhere are in some big conspiracy to fail 5th graders. How dare you not take out your driver's license to prove your identity? My first year of teaching, I had a student who was constantly sleeping in class. I called home about it and the mother said that he was always on his computer or watching TV at night and she couldn't get him to stop. I was only 23 at the time and didn't feel confident enough to tell a parent how to be a parent. But if that happened now, I'd calmly tell the parent to go into the room and remove the offending technology. I had to show my big sister the best way to disable a computer or PS3 temporarily so her kids wouldn't use them when they weren't allowed, and in a way that would be easy to fix that didn't require actually taking the whole device. I love my nephews and I get being a techno geek and gamer, but they took it a bit too far. Parents' evening. 1 is above target, 2 is on, 3 is below. Parent: why has my child got a 3 for academic achievement? Me: because they are working 2 grades under what they should be getting. Parent: but why has she got a 3? Me: silent sigh because she got an E on her test. Parent: but an E does not mean a fail. Me: for her it does. Parent: yeah, but it shouldn't be a 3 inches. A circle. A horrible, horrible circle. Repeat 3 times. On the flip side, I knew I was getting a D in algebra and told my teacher there was no way I could bring home a D. He added a comment code that said student is working up to ability. So I wasn't being lazy, just stupid. I had a kid that was very angry, got in fights with kids and teachers and so on. I worked with this kid and we were making a lot of progress. His mom believes in not sharing your feelings and keeping things bottled up, so she told him not to talk to me about his feelings anymore. For a year anytime I'd try to talk to him he'd say my mom says I don't have to talk about me feelings so I am not going to, and I'd patiently tell him okay. He got progressively worse and had such a hard year that year. After he came back from summer he came up to me and gave me a hug and told me thank you for helping him. The next year he did amazing. I'm really happy for him, but his mom really stunted his growth with her own fears of being open and vulnerable. She never liked me and my hippie ways, haha. Your last sentence explains your username, and you sound like a great teacher. I work as an assistant at an art studio and we have a 7-year-old with seizure syndrome. Except that, I'm pretty sure she doesn't. I'm pretty sure she has 1 seizure once and her mom freaked out and had her diagnosed. Now this little girl loved to terrorize her mother. She's told me that She's looked up at me with her big brown eyes and gigantic, toothy smile, and told me that she likes messing with her mom and making her angry because her mom is too protective and one of those hovercopter parents. So this little girl just jerks her mom every which way, and it's hilarious because her mom is just like that. Overbearing, extremely protective, and really bossy. She'll tell the main teacher and I how to teach her daughter how to draw and how many colors to use, etc etc. But we don't have to retaliate or even say anything because her daughter does it for us. That little girl is fantastic. That little girl is going to be the death of that mother. Not a direct interaction with the parents, but I feel it fits. I coordinate an internship program. I caught one of the students stealing. It wasn't a lot, a few packs of stride gum, but something like that makes us look bad to the employer could have jeopardized the entire program. I explain everything to school administration, and the student gets suspended for 3 days. When he returns, he apologizes to me. I do a whole spiel that what he did was serious, and on a real job if you are caught stealing there are no second chances, and I had to promise the manager I'd watch him like a hawk for the rest of the year. To lighten the mood up a bit, I asked him what he did over the 3 days of being suspended. His mom had taken him to the mall, bought him new headphones, a few shirts from Hollister and a Abercrombie new PS3 game, which he played all the time he was suspended for stealing. My uncle was a teacher in a school for troubled kids for about 10 years elementary. One day a kid starts talking about how the plants and deer are all over his house. My uncle, being a long-time surfer and product of the 70s, didn't say anything at first. Then, during a parent-teacher conference, the parents are just being flat out uncooperative. It ain't my son's fault. You failing him. Dat on you. He do his homework, I see him. Ma'am, he needs more fuck. No, you don't what you're talking about. How do you even be a teacher when you don't know shit? My uncle, I know you're cultivating marijuana at the same home where your son lives. BOOM. He said she got a look on her face that was just priceless, like she just crap her pants. Then he told her, get rid of the plants today and sit down with your son and help him with his work, or else. I had a parent who insisted that her daughter be allowed to make up work after her child missed 42 days of school. Luckily, I was able to hand that one off to administration. My teacher friend busted one of her kids for cheating, and then went and informed the parents. The mom actually called the local radio station to complain about the teacher. Luckily the radio station and the callers thought the mom was crazy as well. I teach 11th grade. 1. Sat in an IEP, special ed, meeting. The parents wanted all of these accommodations for the student even though we kept bringing up his daily weed habit. The accommodations still got on the plan with a promise from him to cut back. 2. Parents asking us how to parent their child. He gets upset when I take his Xbox. 3. A kid kept forgetting his backpack. I asked him if he had his cell phone or shoes. Obviously he did. So I told him to put those items in his backpack when he gets home. His mom thought I was a genius. 4. One parent was exasperated that their child with ADHD wasn't doing college level work. 5. 2 minutes into a phone conference with a mom, she compared her son with her other kids and lamented that her son wasn't as good at school as they were. 6. This is the saddest. I have a deaf student. On parent-teacher night the student's parents come to my class with her. I quickly deduced that the mom and the dad do not know sign language. We talked about her progress and her wanting to go into medicine. I had to convince the dad she was capable. He kept talking her down and demanding she speak. This is a majority of my parent interactions. I would say 1/3 are normal but yield no change. My mother is a K-12 teacher for a charter school that does homeschooling with a teacher checking in and reviewing things about once a week. It's meant for students who have difficulty in the public school system, which can range from dropouts to super smart kids to non-English speakers, and parents who don't have the time to do full homeschool. I used to help with grading the math and science stuff, so I have tons of stories. One parent during the school year kept taking her daughter on trips to different countries, and then asking my mother to extend her work. We're talking about 5 or 6 trips during the year. That would be fine if it was laid out at the start of the school year, and they could schedule accordingly. But this parent would make these trips spontaneously, like, In a few days, we're going to Russia, so she can't meet you next week like we scheduled 2 days ago. Another parent really pee off my mother. 2 kids, brothers, both seniors almost done with high school. All that was left was some sort of state testing done in a classroom. One brother shows up, the other isn't there. My mom, proctor for the exam, asks where his brother is. He replies, he didn't feel like coming. She tells him that this is all he needs to graduate, so text him and get him to come here. He doesn't show. Halfway through the test, the kid's mother storms in the door, yelling at my own mother, telling her off for making her son feel ashamed and humiliated. She flips a table over, no joke, grabs her son that's there, who looked like he wanted to die. Keep in mind, he is a senior, like 17 years old or so, and storms out the door. Both brothers fail to get their HS degree, as neither had completed the state test. The crazy mom then writes a scathing email to my mother's supervisor, talking about how she had been lying to her, disregarding her problems and her children's education, and attempting to sabotage their chance at graduation. I have more, may post them up later if anyone is interested. A mother asked me to give it to her straight about her child. I told her he was a threat to other students and a disruption to every class he's ever been in. She reported me to the district. A 16-year-old freshman girl is constantly skipping class and starts failing at the beginning of the year. I call mother to inform her about missing class and missing grades. The mother puts me on speakerphone without telling me that the kid is listening on the conversation. I tell her that I am concerned about the kid's attendance and seemingly poor academic habits. The mother blows up at me saying that I shouldn't worry about her attendance because it's not my business. She then says she's self-employed and frequently far from the school and can't take time to deal with her daughter's school issues. She later transfers out of my class to another teacher. She failed the class anyway. My mom is a kindergarten teacher. Just a few months ago one parent asked her if it was alright if she came in and gave the kids henna tattoos for a class Christmas party. My mom decided to give the kids permission slips in order to participate, and mentioned the tattoos would be about the size of a nickel and would be holiday themed. Another parent upon reading the permission slip came into the school and complained to the principal that my mother was trying to turn the kids Muslim. The principal essentially told her she was a moron and to frick off. Good for the principal. Henna isn't strictly a Muslim thing either. Not me, but a situation that happened in my school. We get a new student the last week of May with only 4 weeks of school left. In this school year, this student has only attended 2 weeks of school due to school anxiety. He has a whole team of professionals, his mother, and a one-on-one aide that work with him. This is also his 3rd school, kicked out of his 2 previous ones, and he is in 2nd grade. He had a generally good first day, fist bumped his teacher, did a little bit of stuff, then went home and told his mother that it was the worst day in his life. Mom comes to school all up in arms about how we're ruining her precious little snowflake. The next day, his classroom teacher tried to get him to do some writing with her. The kid looks straight in her eyes and says, "My mother said I don't have to do anything. Are you calling my mother a liar?" Q mother the next day, all up in arms, because the teacher called my precious snowflake a liar. So, due to his school anxiety, he doesn't have to do any work, interact with teachers, make any movement whatsoever except sit like a lump in his seat. The teacher, when giving an assignment to the class, has to specify to him but you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. It's by far the stupidest situation I've ever witnessed. TLDR. 2nd grader who is professionally advised to not do any work at school because of batshit crazy mother. I hope he fails. Yeah, kid, you do the work if you want, but no work equals 0%. I don't want to call any parents dumb. In my experience they are mostly doing the best they can for their kids, even if that best isn't what we'd hope for. However, I did have a student who came to my student teaching classroom 2 grades below reading level, and similarly behind in other subjects. She really wanted to learn, but she had some cognitive issues that didn't qualify her for special ed but meant that she required a lot of time and personal attention to learn well. For that entire school year, I worked individually with her before and after school, while she was waiting for the bus or after she'd been dropped off, and often during her recess and art gym library. which she asked me to do because she wanted to learn and wanted the one-on-one attention. She improved markedly in reading and in writing, which is what we were concentrating on. She wasn't caught up at the end of the year, but she was a heck of a lot closer. She failed the year, but because she had a speech issue, her parents could decide to send her to the next grade anyway. I tried to convince her parents that she should be held back a year, because with another year of intensive help, which I was going to find a way to secure for her, I thought that she could be close to or on grade level, and could possibly keep up with the other students after that. They refused because they didn't want the other students to make fun of her. I have no idea what happened after that because I moved to another state, but I bet it wasn't good. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.